Hi, my name is Fred Holland. I'm a member of the Launchpad team. A couple of words about Launchpad. We like to think of ourselves as UUs helping UUs. Launchpad exists as an outreach ministry. It's an outreach ministry to UU congregations. And our overall mission is to help congregations grow and help them prosper, help them grow, help them increase membership. Because Launchpad for us is a grow the faith exercise. We are committed to growing our Unitarian Universalist faith. So today's Tuesday tip is about outward-facing websites. A little bit of background. Back in 2015, when Launchpad was just getting off the ground, in fact, maybe even only been a gleam in our eye at that point, I undertook a survey of UU congregations around the country. And I would speak to Unitarian Universalist ministers and church administrators, trying to find out what's going right, what's going wrong, particularly for multi-site churches, which is where we were placing a lot of emphasis at that point, and still are. But what was their experience with multi-site? And if they had it to do over, what would they do? Well, my process was that before I would talk to the minister or the administrator, I would always go to the church website and look to see, what I could find out. For instance, I needed contact numbers. I needed to know the names, that sort of thing. So in the process, I looked at an awful lot of church websites. And I don't think it's a great surprise. It turned out that I liked some websites more than I liked others. And as I talked to more and more congregations, what became kind of set for me was that the websites that I really enjoyed were the ones that were what I came to term outward facing, in terms that they were inviting to visitors that engaged me visually, engaged me intellectually, made me want to learn more. And over time, in working with my Launchpad partners, that kind of became enshrined in what we call the three-legged stool of Launchpad website development. And the three legs are: you get attention, because particularly on the internet, there's huge competition for eyeballs, and people have attention spans of seconds, if not microseconds. So you've got to get their attention in the first place, and we do that by trying to be stunningly visually beautiful in terms of the first thing that they see. We have to get engaged. The second leg on our three-legged stool is to create engagement, where once you have their attention, which will fade very rapidly, you have to keep them engaged and to the point that they want to read what you have to say, to see what you have to say, if you have embedded videos and that sort of thing. And throughout everything, our overall goal is for the visitor to want to learn more, so that they might actually pay your congregation a visit. Because let's face it, if we're wanting to grow the faith, if we're wanting to have more UUs, well, one method could be that we could have UU couples create little UUs, and they could grow up to be member UUs, which is kind of a slow process, you have to admit. Or we can get more visitors in the door. So Launchpad developed websites are all about getting visitors in the door. Now here's the good news. You don't have to watch me through this whole webinar, because what I'm going to do is to share my screen, and we're going to quickly move to looking at an example of a website that we developed for one of our Launchpad partners, and that being the Foothills UU Fellowship in Maryville, Tennessee. So let me do this as quickly as possible. I think we're up there, get rid of a little bit of stuff here. So in terms of get attention, we start on most of our websites with a cover page. It's up to the congregation in terms of what they want. If they want, we'll go directly to a home page. But our intent here with the cover page is to have something that makes them say, oh, well, this is different, or that's pretty, or I wonder where that is, you know, that sort of thing. If we get their attention, we've achieved our purpose. Now, Foothills Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, Foothills UU Fellowship, is located in Maryville, Tennessee, as I mentioned, and they're right at the edge of the Smoky Mountains. In fact, they're not too far from the Smoky Mountains National Park. So for the Foothills website, an awful lot of the imagery that you'll see as we go into this deals with mountains and streams and pretty sights and pretty scenery and that sort of thing, because we think that that helps keep attention. So let's click on our welcome here. We'll go in here. Oh my gosh, there's another really pretty image of hills with the sunset in the background. Now, just to tell you, we use an awful lot of stock imagery in our websites, and for the most part, that's from Shutterstock. We use a little bit of Adobe Images, but for the most part, we're using Shutterstock. So here we are on the home page. We start with a message, in this case, come grow with us. On the home page, we start with, first of all, being inviting, asking questions. You know, are you looking for a place to connect and belong? Do you want to explore the big question of life, make a difference in the community, so on and so forth? So we're trying to engage them in the conversation. We're also providing information, starting to talk about our community, our fellowship community, a quote. And by the way, when we develop websites for clients, for the most part, the information comes out of an existing website. It's pretty rare. In fact, I'm not sure that we've had one yet where we've developed one from scratch without having an existing website to draw on. So an awful lot of the information comes from the existing websites. But we're starting to talk about things in terms of this is what it's all about, these are what we believe, we're a welcoming congregation, that sort of thing. As we move deeper into the site, remember, we're outward facing. Our emphasis is on our visitors. So visitors is the next link. You know, what would UUs be without coffee and cookies? I'm not sure that we would survive. So our image for get to know us is coffee and cookies. And here we're providing information about if you come visit us, this is what you will see, this is what you will experience. What should I wear? What will I experience in my first visit? You know, what are the services like? We're trying, you know, how will my children be greeted? How, you know, do you have faith formation? Do you have child care? That sort of thing. And then finally, what makes our fellowship, in this case, the Foothills UU Fellowship, what makes it different from other churches in our area? So beginning to get into what Unitarian Universalism is all about, and of course, the 7 Unitarian Universalist principles. So we're concentrating on the visitors from the very beginning, and of course with coffee and cookies. We're making a point that we are a welcoming congregation, that we believe in gender equity and gender justice, and that here in Tennessee, that's an important message to get across. We also start using these navigations. We talk about what we believe, in terms of, well, what is Unitarian Universalism? What is this crazy religion? What are you guys all about? Where do you come from? Are you some sort of a cult or sect or something like that? And of course here we're talking about, well, no, we really are derived from the Protestant Christian traditions, and you know, this is where we came from, this is who we are, and that we continue to grow. And you'll notice that here we have an embedded video in the in this page. We have minister and staff in terms of talking about Laura Bogle. Reverend Laura Bogle is the minister for Foothills, doing a great job with them. They think the world of her, and we do too. She's really great to work with. David Inslee is somebody that we know because our 2 congregations actually share David as a music director. But we're providing information in terms of what's their background, you know, what do they bring to the table in terms of what do they believe in terms of the services. We talk about the board and leadership. in terms of the Board of Trustees, the mission area teams, what do we do in the community, that sort of thing. Again, we're building engagement as we go further and further into the site. Now, here is an area where there is a clear distinction between outward-facing websites and in what I would term inward-facing websites, or at least more inward-facing websites. In that, I think every website these days for churches has some sort of a calendar. Well, our websites have two calendars. We have one for the for visitors, for the general public, and it's open to everybody. And then we have another one that I'll cover in a minute that's really for our members. So two calendars on our website. Let's talk about the first one. Here we have the events and news. We're starting with the services, starting with next Sunday, when Reverend Jake Morrill is going to be a guest speaker. And by the way, Jake is also a Launchpad partner with me. Public meetings in terms of the Blount County Ecumenical Action Council, in terms of a meeting coming up, the Sunday after that, the Sunday after that, getting into, as we get into February and March, some of the UU Pathways material. And also on this page, for what it's worth, as events pass, they don't simply fall off the page, but they're continued. For instance, yesterday, as I'm doing this video, Reverend Gordon Gibson from Knoxville did a worship service on Dr. King's triplet, as we all got ready for Martin Luther King's birthday, which is occurring today as I do this video. Also, you can see some of the past worship services in terms of change. The Faith Rocket, which is part of Launchpad and our partnership with Church of the Larger Fellowship, the Faith Rocket theme for January is change. So you're seeing things related to change in the way that the services are put together. Going back up here. Also, the events are displayed on the calendar. And you'll notice that if I hover over a particular event, I get a pop-up that shows what that's about. I can also click on it and get more detailed information in terms of what this particular event is. It also gives you the earlier event and the later event. So that's if you drill down into the calendar, that's what you find. We mentioned that we have newsletters. I'm not sure that I did. I mentioned that actually. In Launchpad Ready, which is the group that I have the honor of leading, we're about church administration in terms of database and contributions management, but we're also about communications in terms of newsletters and websites. Websites are obviously what we're talking about, but here for Foothills, we also do their newsletter, and you'll notice on the website, for all to be able to see, we have their last 4 newsletters, so that if somebody is interested, if they want to know more, if they want to learn more, they have the ability of clicking on the newsletters. Importantly, if they like what they see, they can sign up to receive the newsletter. And again, you'll notice this imagery going through with stock photographs, again, just trying to be entertaining, building in kids and interesting things, interesting objects whenever we can. Not that a kid is an interesting object, but children create a message for us that we like a lot, and I'm sure you do too. So we've got the newsletter sign up, and then finally, here's the distinction that I mentioned earlier. In terms of having 2 sections, I think I said that you always have to take care of your members. You know, even if you had an inward-facing website at one time, the requirements for that, the need for that doesn't go away, but you need a member section. And for Foothills, as it is for the website on our church and for others that we've done, it's password protected. I'm not going to show you everything that's in here, but I am going to go into this section of the Foothills website just to show you a couple of things. For one thing, we've got the Foothills. They describe themselves as being Foothians. So at any rate, we have the Footh intranet. And the intranet is where documents, policy procedures, any sort of files that you want members to be able to access, that's in their inside intranet. You can do stuff like this in Google Docs and other medium, but we find it's really useful to have this on the website because there are a lot more people that once they learn how, they can navigate to your website and to the documents section of your website than particularly for the older generation, the one that may have more trouble just finding something on Google Docs. We've got an announcement here about they're soliciting volunteers, and then here is their members calendar. So this is all the inner workings of the church. These are not necessarily things, some of them are, but there are lots of things here which are not open to outside visitors. So here's the members calendar that you're used to seeing, but at the same time, we've provided a really nice, engaging calendar for the visitors. So moving out of this, as we move to growing with us, we're going to talk about, again, imagery related to the hills and the valleys and whatnot. We're going to talk about faith development in terms of our faith, whether it's religious education, faith development, or our faith formation, as we call it. Things about what's out there for kids, what are we doing for fun events, that sort of thing. How does the church, how do the members interact together? In this case, how do we covenant together? These are actually images of different Foothills events. Again, our message is one of love. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is His blessing. On down through the bullet points in terms of the covenant for the fellowship. Again, providing information, deepening engagement, deepening understanding. And then, of course, what we're hoping is that people will visit and ultimately they will consider becoming part of a member. So here we're talking about what does it mean to become a member? What are the requirements? What are the expectations? Does it cost? Certainly we're interested in pledging, so we're being very upfront with them there. Also talks about the decision-making at Foothills. Finally, our last section over here is contact, in terms of getting in touch. This is not unusual in terms of this site. Let me move this window slightly. Also, because Foothills, as they develop, they are still renting space. So we're telling folks how to find them. We're providing a picture of their building. We're giving directions to there. In fact, very specific directions, as you can tell in this section. And then finally, of course, we're encouraging people to give, to be able to donate, to go online to the Foothills PayPal site and make donations. And of course, this can be used for different causes, different fundraisings, things like that. But it's easy for people just to be able to go to the website and give. We've got something running right now on our church website where we have a hymnal campaign going. We've experienced some growth. Thank you very much. And we need more hymnals. We have two types of hymnals, and they can order either of them on our website. So the give is where, I guess, the money hits the road. So that's it in a nutshell in terms of outward facing. Again, beautiful, engaging images, getting their attention, getting the message across, describing what it's all about, incenting them to want to learn more, and at the end of the day, incenting them to come visit. So I hope that you've enjoyed this webinar, and if you have any questions, if you'd like follow-up, you can contact me at fholland@launchpad.faith. I'll repeat that again, fholland, F-H-O-L-L-A-N-D, @launchpad.faith. Or you can simply go to www.launchpad.faith. look over our website, learn more about what Launchpad is all about, and there's a contact button there that you can use to get in touch with us. So thank you for your time today. Have a good one.